Hey everybody. Oh my. I didn't start this all at the same time. Okay. All right. Perfect.
Ready?
Hey everybody. I'm coming to you live from vacation, so excuse the no. Can we call it the speech here? I don't know. But I wanted to stop in and make a quick video very quickly because I know there is a lot of families right now who are having a very hard time getting European formula, and they're using European formula with their baby, and then all of a sudden certain suppliers aren't able to get them the formula they need, which is a really scary situation. Lots of kids in the background, just ignore it. All right, so today I want to give you some roughly comparable substitutes if you're in a position where you are forced to put your baby through a formula switch, which nobody wants to do, but if you can't get your formula, baby's got to be fed. I want to give you some suggestions that may help. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. Bridget Young, I'm Doctor of Perinatal Nutrition and founder of BabyFormulaExpert.com. And I'm going to dive right into it so I can get back to relaxing. All right, so again, if you have been using European formula and you are now having a really hard time getting that European formula, here are some relatively comparable U.S. brands that might ease your baby's transition during this forced change. So if you are using any of the standard HIP, so like HIP stage 1 or 2, HIP combiotic, HIP, any of the standard HIPs, or HALA stage 1, HALA stage 2, or Lebenswert. So Lebenswert comes stage 1, stage 2. So those are all quote unquote standard dairy formulas in Europe. Two brands that are going to be relatively close in composition on the US market are Bobby formula, which is a newer formula, but it is the only US, so FDA approved formula that is both organic and grass-fed, which I know is one of the main reasons a lot of families end up choosing a European brand. So Bobby is grass-fed and is organic. It has a 60% whey, 40% casein ratio, which the vast majority of stage 1 European formulas do. So that's going to be really similar for your infant's digestion. And the protein is the most important for digestion, meaning it's kind of the hardest to digest, and it's usually the reason a baby has issues. So trying to match the protein as much as possible is what I would really encourage you to do. So Bobby has roughly the same protein source as all of those, the HIP, HALA, and Lebenswert. It also does not have any palm oil, which some of those European formulas avoid, some do not. Another one, so Bobby is a newer company and you have to order online, like you can't just go to Target and get it. So if you're unable to get it quickly or you need another suggestion, Similac's Pure Bliss formula is also checks some of the boxes that these European formulas do. So it is a grass-fed formula. It is not organic, but it is grass-fed. The whey to casein ratio is 50-50. So Bobby and the European formulas have a little bit more whey, around 60%, but the Similac is 50-50, which is much better than the other U.S. organic formulas. For example, like Happy Baby or the new Burt's Bees, and they are only 30% whey. So I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but so Similac Pure Bliss is a formula that you can easily get. So they usually do have it at Target or Walmart. So if you need something immediately, hopefully your baby would transition pretty well if they were on, again, the standard HIP, the standard HALA, or the standard Lebenswert formulas. Similac also does not use palm oil if that's something that was concerning for your family, if your baby was really prone to constipation. Okay, I'm going to jump to a whole new category of formulas. So if your baby was using the HIP specialty formulas, which are HIP Comfort or HIP HA, HA comes in pre and stage 1 and stage 2. Those formulas are partially hydrolyzed formulas. All of those, HIP Comfort and all the HIP HAs, are 100% whey as the protein, but then it's been partially hydrolyzed, which means broken up into smaller pieces. So if you just take your baby from that and then cold turkey go to for something like Bobby or Similac Pure Bliss, I mean, hopefully they do great. That would be amazing. But chances are they'd have a little bit of a rough time and you'd be in for a couple long nights. Safe, not like any danger here. But aren't we all in for longer sleep and the most comfy babies possible? So if you are using HIP Comfort or HIP HA, try to look for a partially hydrolyzed American formula. So your choices there, I'm going to give you two different options. If you were on HIP Comfort, which is partially hydrolyzed, but it's also lactose reduced. So lactose is the carbohydrate. So they take some of the lactose out and they have to replace it with something. In Hip Comfort, they use maltodextrin. So a very similar formula here in the U.S. is Gerber Gentle. It's 100% whey, partially hydrolyzed, so same protein. And they do the same thing where they take out some of the lactose and use maltodextrin to replace it. You have to replace it with something. So that it's Gerber is not an organic formula, but the main ingredients that affect your baby's digestive comfort the most are really similar. So if you're in a huge pinch, that would be the formula that's going to be closest to the major ingredients of the Hip Comfort. Hip HA, depending on the one you're using, a lot of people like to use one that's 100% lactose. So the suggestion or the closest on the US market for that is a brand new formula from Burt's Bees. Burt's Bees just came out with a whole new line of organic formulas. So it is organic, which is great. That's also similar to the European formulas. It's called Burt's Bees Ultra Gentle. Same protein as all these formulas we're talking about. 100% whey, partially hydrolyzed, but the carbohydrate is 100% lactose. Now, if you were on Hip Comfort and you want to switch to 100% lactose formula, your baby's probably going to do fine. The number one thing you can do to ease their transition is to go really slowly. So if you're in a position where you're on your last can and you don't have enough for your next feed, I would recommend try the lactose reduced just so your baby, can eat something and that they're going to digest it well. If you have enough that you can mix the bottles over a transition period, that always helps baby to their intestines to adjust to basically a new ingredient or a larger amount of ingredient. So that will help if it's something doable. Obviously, number one priority, feed the baby. That is why we're here. Okay, last, I'm going to talk a little bit about the AR formula, which is what AR could stand for a couple things. So acid reflux is what it stands for, and I believe the HIP formula. You've got a lot of options here. So of course, if you're using the HIP AR, and now you can get it and you need to transition to something, you can of course use either the Similac, Enfamil, or generic version of an AR formula in the US. In the US, the AR really stands for added rice. There's a really big difference between the European thickened or for spit up or acid reflux formulas, their thickened formula, and the US. In the EU, so the HIP formula actually uses a gum to thicken it, guar gum. So your baby doesn't really know a difference, but here's the big difference to me. If you are also providing breast milk, good for you, mama. Here's the kicker though. In the US, when we add some kind of starch to thicken the formula, enzymes in breast milk break down that starch. So if you're mixed feeding, if you're mixing US thickened formula with breast milk, or if you're nursing at the breast and then topping off with an AR formula, it's not going to thicken as well because the breast milk is actively trying to digest it as it's going. So I bring that up because if you are using HIP AR and you are exclusively formula feeding, your baby will probably do great on a US thickened formula. The US thickened formulas do have way more casein. So that is going to be a big protein change for the baby. But especially if your baby's older, they may handle it just fine. So if you really need a thickened formula for regurgitative issues, so excess spit up or reflux, absolutely try the US formulas that are thickened. If you are using HIP AR but you're mixed feeding, so you're also providing breast milk, just keep that in mind. The US thickened formulas aren't going to thicken as well for your baby because they've got breast milk mixed in there, which is kind of working against the thickening agent of the US reflux formulas. So you can absolutely try it. It's not like it's going to hurt anything. But you might also consider as a second choice a US formula that has higher whey, like HIP AR, so around a 60% whey, because whey empties the stomach a little bit faster. So it's not going to thicken. Like if your baby spits up a lot, it's still going to come up, but hopefully the goal, would be to get it out of the stomach into the intestines where it can't come right back up as quickly as possible, and a little bit more whey may help with that. So unfortunately, you have to choose. In the US, there's not a 6% whey formula that also comes thickened. You've got to make a choice. So if you want a 60% whey formula, you do have lots of options. We mentioned Bobby, and really any, the standard formula. So Enfamil infant and the generics of Enfamil infant are 60% whey. So that's a lot of options that are very easily accessible to you if you need to like go get a can of formula right now. All right. That was a lot of information. I desperately hope this is helpful for some families who are sort of panicking. Using a European formula, I always say you must clear it with your doctor because it comes with risks. This is one of the scariest risks to me, that you could turn around one day and not be able to get your formula, which is terrifying for any family. Nobody should have to go through that. Parenting is hard enough. So I really hope this was helpful. If a lot of this talk went way over your head, like whey, casein, palm oil, like what is she talking about? Girl, get over to my website. I have all kinds of free resources. I'll explain it all to you. And I'm doing a workshop with Bumble Baby, who's a NICU nurse, who is incredible infant expert, on July 7th. And we're going to be talking about exactly this. We're going to break down exactly what to look for on a label, how to choose, what ingredients are going to be best for your unique baby. Every baby's different. So basically how to make a formula choice based on nutrition science and feel really, really good about it. That's going to be July 7th at 8 p.m. I'll put the link in the comments. Can I do that? I can figure out how to do that. So check that out. And also, I have for you information junkie moms who don't know, I have a course workshop about formula that you can get through in about 2.5 hours. And it will just make you a baller on the formula aisle. Like no more questions, literally ever. So absolutely check that out. It would be just my deepest joy to help your family through this transition. If you have any specific questions, or if there's a formula you're using that I didn't mention here, put it in the comments and I'll either do another video or get back to you. Because I just never ever want to see anybody struggling through such a panicked time when you have a baby. We don't need any more reasons to panic. So my blessings to you. Enjoy extra snuggles, and I'll see you all soon. Bye. Said bye. Still trying it. There it is. Found it. Bye.